going to go to any LSU games this year?
Philip Bugere pursued a variety of treatment avenues: talk therapy, medication, which he says only made his symptoms worse, and a 3-month stay in a hospital. In the end, he believes the most significant contribution to his recovery was the companionship he shared with John Sage, a former All-American football player who was emerging from his own battle with depression.
John Sage, probably more than any other person, saved my life, because I had someone that I could talk to every single day and was there for me, who had gone through what I went through and understood it.
I think it's a question of opening up is the first step to healing. The first baby step is telling one person.
That's right.
And then maybe telling a group of people, or opening up where it's not such a dark, insidious, hidden thing.
You focus internally, and that's part of the disease. You focus on yourself. And it's simple but complicated. Focusing outward on other people is the most important thing you can do if you're depressed.
All the way down to 22. And then also get that.
Today, Philip is vice chairman of the NFL's Houston Texans. He now devotes a third of his time to helping others deal with mental health issues. Philip, like many others, recognizes that limited mental health benefits represent a significant obstacle for people wanting help.
People with mental health problems are discriminated against by the federal government, by state government, by local government, even the Medicare system. You know, it's very limited the amount of mental health care you can get. Every other disease you look at, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, you know, you basically get, you know, at least 80% of your bills paid for. You don't with mental health problems.
Advocating for change, Philip has begun his own campaign within the workplace to improve mental health coverage.
The Houston Texans are the only National Football League team that have mental health parity. If you're going to take care of the whole person, you have to take care of their brain also. When we first started talking, and it wouldn't matter whether it was Cigna or Blue Cross or anybody, about wanting to add mental health benefits to our medical plan, the number's usually around 20%. You know, we're going to charge you 20% more. Now, the truth is they don't have any statistical base to know that, because very few companies have mental health parity. Finally, we negotiated a deal after 6 months where Cigna said, we'll charge you 2% more, and then at the end of the year, we'll adjust. And guess what? The end of the year adjustment was zero. People use the mental health benefits, but in the overall scheme of things, it didn't affect our rate base at all.
It pays to treat depression. Every year, America loses an estimated $50 billion in productivity as a consequence of untreated depression. Ignoring the treatment of depression also raises the risk of many life-threatening illnesses.
What we're learning now is that people with depression are also at higher rates for diabetes, for cardiovascular death. We now know that there are changes in bone density, that osteoporosis is higher in people who have depression. So this is, yes, it's a brain disorder, but in some sense it's a multi-system, whole-body disorder. Not surprising then that people often present with more somatic symptoms than with just the psychological manifestations.
It would take Ellie nearly 4 months to start to feel better from her postpartum depression.
She was just in such deep despair that, you know, I literally told her at least 20 times a day that you're gonna get through this. You're gonna, you know, and you asked about 10 times a day, I think.
At least.
Am I gonna get through this? Yes. And you did. So.
During her ordeal, Ellie noticed that her maternal bond with Graham was suffering.
I was physically unable to have an expressive face with him and to be able to really smile at him. And when he did start to smile, he never smiled at me. And that was absolutely devastating. All right, Graham, what should we get? Hello.
At the time, Ellie was taking several medications that forced her to give up her plans to breastfeed Graham for a year.
I was taking a lot of different medications, and I felt really guilty about that because I needed to stop breastfeeding.
A website on healthy childhood development gave her a broader perspective.
Mom puts on the still face. And Michael tries everything he can to reestablish connection.
It just breaks my heart to see those video clips, though, because, first of all, it hits way too close to home. And secondly, you can just feel the pain that those children are experiencing.
The website helped Ellie to realize that treating her depression would not only help her, but minimize Graham's risk of becoming depressed.
Well, we know depression runs in families, and we know that the children of depressed parents have high rates of depression. And one new finding is that if you treated the mother to remission, the children who had symptoms got better.
I think there are a lot of reasons why you got blindsided by...
Today, Ellie and Jeffrey are meeting with Dr. Kim because they hope to have another child.
Honestly, I'd be really sad if Graham didn't have a little sibling to play with. And so frankly, it's partially out of love for Graham that we want to have another child.
This time, as a protective measure, Ellie will stay on a low dose of an antidepressant. Prior to the birth of Graham, she had experienced a few episodes of depression. This history puts her at higher risk for another postpartum depression.
In your particular case, you've had more than one episode of major depression. You've had, a couple. And so your risk of another episode off of an antidepressant is, more than 80-90%. Mm-hmm. So it's quite high.
I just want to do whatever I can to not have a repeat of last time.
With medication and support in place, Ellie's chance of experiencing another postpartum depression is dramatically reduced.
It's hard to look past.
But it is Ellie's trust in Dr. Kim's care that gives her the most confidence to go forward with another pregnancy.
I think one of the ways that we can keep depression in remission has to do with the relationship between the therapist and the patient. And if you're seeing somebody and you don't think it's a good match, you're the consumer. You ought to go out and find somebody different to treat you.
If you're feeling like something might be, like you're depressed or things aren't right, get help. And if the help doesn't help you, then get different help and don't give up. And I think the most important thing is that you will recover. You will be okay. This is an incredibly treatable condition. Just don't, whatever you do, don't give up. Love you.
Not long after Jawi was released from prison, he wrote a letter to Terry Williams, who decided to mentor him through the Stay Strong Foundation, an organization she co-founded to help at-risk youth.
What Terry did with me is one of the most noble things I've ever witnessed in my life. Terry met me when I got right out of prison. She read my story, she felt it, and she invited me to her house. I've never experienced nothing like that in my life.
I decided to mentor this extraordinary young man, Jawi, because I felt that he was a promise for the future. I've never believed that people are born evil. And when I hear stories about so-and-so being a monster who's committed a horrific crime, I always say, if we knew their story, we would understand. He has a tender spirit, but he hasn't always found the way to expose that to very many people. I love Jawi. Please welcome Jawi.
Jawi has written a book about his life and hopes to inspire others through his writing.
He's a window into the pain that so many are in, because our kids are out there parenting themselves because their parents are in pain. They didn't get certain things, so we have generation after generation after generation who are wounded and have never gotten any help.
The first thing Terry did was to get Jawi the professional help he needed.
Nightmares?
Every night. Can't do it without help.
In addition to depression, Jawi suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Think of the exact moment you heard that your homie was murdered.
A big part of me wants to do what's the norm, or do what I'm supposed to be doing. Getting revenge. The other part of me is telling me that the cycle has to stop.
People who have trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder, left untreated long enough, start to fall into depression. The fact is that trauma is very healable now. We have techniques that really can affect directly where the trauma is held in the brain, can identify it, can help to process and release it.
I would guess I would say, as far as the stress.
Jawi refuses medication for his depression, but a preliminary study suggests that talk therapy is the most effective treatment for depressed patients with a history of early trauma.
Just a few things that I get, a psychotherapist, like just something as small as that would mean a lot to an individual on the street. And we have no proper way to extract none of those feelings. And the only way we learn to do that, that's where our therapy becomes the bottle, our therapy become pills, our therapy become crime, violence, drugs. That be our therapy because it's what relieve what we're going through.
We pay for not caring about those who are not properly nourished. They are your worst nightmare. They will show up in your neighborhoods. They will show up anywhere and everywhere if we don't do our part.
Like before meeting Terry, I still was lost and confused, still roaming around in the dark. And like she just shed light on my darkness just to have that connection, and it's like a second mother, you know what I'm saying? And I think it kills me because I know we all need that.
I want to embarrass you, but I love you. He's a young man who's going to change the world. He's taking his pain and his challenges and sharing it.